Welcome to Behind the Muscle podcast. Today's guest is a newly crowned IFBB Pro and the 2022 North American Championships overall men's bodybuilding champion. Felix Norman, welcome back to the podcast, man.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on again.
For sure, my man. So like I just kind of said, before I hit record, one of the coolest things for me on the podcast is to have you athletes on before you compete at your pro qualifiers. Some of you earn your IFBB pro cards, and it's pretty cool for me then to be able to introduce you guys as IFBB pros, no longer NPC athletes. So I just want to first of all say congratulations, man. Thank you for coming back on. We're just going to kind of get into North Americans talk, but I greatly appreciate you taking some time to chat with me again. Okay, Felix?
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate it. This is a great platform for us top amateurs, new pros and everything. You're doing a great thing here, so I'm happy to be here.
Cool. Well, I greatly appreciate that. For all of you who are tuning in to this episode with Felix Norman, Felix was on back in July, episode number 155. So if you want to listen to kind of his full story, get his backstory, his upbringing, his full bodybuilding story, so to speak, just go back to episode number 155 and you can kind of get the normal, typical Behind the Muscle podcast episode with Felix. Today, we're going to be recapping his overall victory at the NPC North American Championships just a few days ago and kind of picking his brain in terms of what's next. So appreciate you guys joining in again. All right, Felix. So let's kind of take a step back before we kind of get into North Americans. We talked about your prep. You were on here right around like July 23rd, something like that, July 22nd, end of July. I think you had probably about 6 to 8 weeks to go in your prep. Why don't you let us know, how did those last, 5 to 6, 7 weeks go after we talked? And then we'll kind of get into prejudging in North Americans.
Yeah. So the last 6 weeks, I mean, they really went smooth. The entire prep went, as smooth as a prep can go. Body responded really well. My coach, Austin Stout, he is just phenomenal with communication and, rolling with things. And, we were checking in for the last 6 weeks. We were checking in twice a week and then every other day and eventually every day. So it was extremely, he was paying extremely close attention. So we were taking things literally day by day. And so that was huge. That was really important because we could just stay locked in. And if anything started to go a way we didn't anticipate, whether it was too quick of weight loss or a rebound or whatever, we could just address it by the day. So it was a really smooth last 6 weeks. From, let's say, about 5 weeks out to about 2 weeks out, we went to that dark place, man. I mean, it was not fun. It was, I was walking around like a zombie all day, trying to cook my rice on a burner that I hadn't turned on more than once. So it was rough because Austin and I both really value conditioning. As a super heavyweight, we knew I was not going to be the biggest guy in that class. And so, we go with our strengths, which is shape, structure, and conditioning. And so, man, we really dug deep, and it went really well. But it was definitely the hardest I've ever pushed myself. It was the hardest I've ever worked at anything. But as far as variables and how my body responded, man, it couldn't have gone better. It all went really smooth and just lined up perfectly.
Beautiful, man. Now, when you talk about going to the dark place, that's terminology that bodybuilders, use quite often. Now, in terms of cardio, from kind of where we left off towards the end of July to those last 6 weeks or whatever it was, Where did cardio go? Did it increase? What was the highest it got to? Did it decrease? Talk about that a little bit, because I know that's a big aspect for most people in terms of their preps.
Yeah. So cardio was increased up until about 2 weeks out, and then we started kind of pulling back a little bit to kind of start bringing the body back to life and start very slowly filling out. But at the top end, I mean, we're talking maybe up to 75 minutes of cardio a day. Sometimes that would be, on 80 grams of carbs for the day, and then you're talking about training on top of that. So I mean, it was very, we were definitely running on empty. So we ramped things up pretty hard, but thankfully, I have a pretty good metabolism, body responds pretty quick, so we only had to really be in that spot for a couple weeks.
Excellent, man. Remind me, what's your age again, Felix? How old are you?
29.
29. Oh, you're a youngin', man. Okay,
Yeah, we
so
got time.
just so young, man. The ripe years, they say, for bodybuilding is 30. So man, that's going to be an awesome sight to see for you here in the future. But okay, so cardio kind of upwards towards 75 minutes a day at some point, then it got pulled back. Now, I think we probably touched on this during our first episode, but I want you, because some people are going to listen to this or watch it that maybe didn't check out episode 155, your first round on the podcast. So I want to touch on this again just for a quick minute.
Sure.
What was your mindset going into this prep, and what were you and Austin really trying to accomplish during this prep and at North Americans? I mean, what was like that number one focus, number one goal for you guys as a team?
So the goal for North Americans was to win a pro card. That was I would say the minimum expectations was to come away with a pro card. Um, I definitely wanted to win the overall. I was definitely like that was very important to me. To the point where at the show when I did win the super heavies, it didn't really even occur to me that I had won my pro card yet, because immediately when I won the super heavies, my mind goes right to, okay, it's overall time. I'm still in this with, the job is still not finished. So that was the goal, going into this thing. And it was a lofty goal, because this was a really stacked lineup. I mean, there were 15 super heavyweights, and you're talking about guys like Cole Eastvold and Joey Quads and Brandon Barrow, and I mean, these guys are legit. So we knew if we could come away with a pro card, and especially the overall, it would be deserved because of who I was going up against, because these guys are no joke. So, but yeah, that was the goal. Last year for USA is my first national show. It was just, how do we stack up? What does it look like? What does it feel like being up there on a national stage? This year it was, we were going for it.
Awesome, man. Now, when it comes to goals, Felix, and just kind of like getting your focus for a prep, do you write goals down, or do you have like a vision board or something like that, or do you kind of just stack that away in the back of your mind? How do you kind of approach goal setting and a vision for yourself moving forward in terms of bodybuilding, and accomplishing what you want to accomplish as an athlete?
Yeah. Honestly, it's kind of just in my head. I kind of just put a goal or a set of goals in my head, and I drive myself insane by thinking about those goals day in and day out, and just repeating them to myself in my head, basically in silence throughout the day. And people do it a lot of different ways. My wife CJ, she's huge on physically writing down goals. She has a vision board, and I mean, she's manifested pretty much all of those, so it works for her. But for me, it's just, I put it in my head, and I don't need to write it down because I cannot get it out of my head.
Love it, man. Just obsession, right? I mean,
That's what
they
it is.
say, I mean, people that are elite in whatever that category is. I mean, they're obsessed, and a lot of times in society, when you're somebody who's obsessed, you're kind of looked down upon. But man, if you really get into that next level of life in terms of just that eliteness, again, whatever category that eliteness is in, like there has to be obsession, correct?
Yeah, there absolutely does, and I understand why to the average person who sees that, obsession can look like a negative thing, because especially in something like bodybuilding, obsession with a goal requires selfishness. This is selfish. It there's no two ways about it. The at home, the universe revolved around me for the past 4 months, and I mean, really, honestly, because bodybuilding is a 24/7 thing, our lives kind of revolve around this year round, because it's not like I slow down in the off season. So, you do have to be careful, because with obsession comes selfishness, and you have to be really careful to not neglect other things in your life and the people in your life. And when bodybuilders talk about that going to that dark place to get it done and do what they need to do, part of that darkness is you stop talking to friends, you stop communicating with your spouse, you pull away from people, not because you want to, not because you're being malicious, but because it's so all consuming, that it just tends to happen. So it's definitely something to watch out for. And when you say obsessed, there is good reason why people can see that as a negative thing.
Yeah, great point, man. Now, I want to ask you, since we're kind of on this topic, and then we're going to kind of get into North American talk more in depth. But
Yeah.
I think you just put a post up earlier this morning that I saw, or maybe it was yesterday. I don't know, a couple of your recent posts, but you did mention something about kind of giving some time back to your family, to your wife and stuff, and that there were just some struggles kind of during this prep. I'm not asking you to get into specifics, but what just give us some wisdom. You kind of touched on it lightly just a minute ago, but give us some wisdom. Talk to maybe some of those bodybuilders that are kind of in that grind right now as NPC athletes, trying to get that pro card. What can be done in terms of an athlete, a bodybuilder, to maybe not completely fray all relationships and let the boat completely sink? Because I was having a conversation yesterday with somebody, and I brought up John Meadows, and I think he's a great individual. He's a great example of somebody who he really had it all and did it all, especially, if you saw him from the outside, right, looking in. It's like
Yeah.
eventually got his IFBB pro card, successful corporate person,
Yep.
successful within the fitness industry, successful dad, successful family man. I mean, he was a football coach, kind of all the things. So it can be done.
Yep.
What are some of your suggestions, or what maybe you learned during this prep that you can do better and you can share with us that we can glean from you, Felix, again, so the boat doesn't completely sink?
Yeah, man, that's funny you said that. I was actually gonna bring up John Meadows, because I don't remember if he said it or if I heard it from someone else, but I know something he used to do in prep was he would save calories throughout the week, and through tracking macros and tracking calories, and he would save some calories for the end of the week, and he would take his wife out to dinner about once a week all through prep. Even if all he could get at a restaurant was a chicken breast and a little rice or a salad or something, he would save those calories to make sure they had a date night. And I will be honest, I did not do that this time around. I did not, like, whatever advice I'm going to give, I'm also giving myself for the next go around, because I did not do it. I did not do it well this time in terms of balance. So something like that, like what John Meadows would do, I stopped. I was very physically distant during this prep. You lose that energy for any sort of physical affection or intimacy, And you know, it's really important to kind of do it not for yourself. And even if you don't necessarily want to, because you're so tired, you're so hungry, you're so on edge, just do it as an obligation to your spouse, because they need that, they deserve that, they're putting up with so much. You know, the last thing you want to do is pull away from them, you know, physically. And in those terms, you know, little things to just remind them that you know they're there, you know they're supporting you, and you're not taking them for granted. And like I said, I did not do a good job at this in my marriage through this prep. So you know, I'm telling this to myself as well. You know, my wife CJ is an angel. She, you know, we had our struggles through this prep, and she was still, you know, cooking my meals and doing my, you know, my three, you know, my laundry that was 3 changes of clothes every day from cardio and training, and, you know, errands and all this stuff. And I mean, it just incredible how much she took on and how much our partners take on. So yeah, just we need to put a little bit more focus on that, because you got to keep that stable home life, because if your life starts unraveling, it can derail prep so easily. And you know, it's not fair to them. And so again, you know, obsession is good. Obsession is good, and until it turns into complete selfishness. And so I need to do a better job at that in the future. And I think a lot of bodybuilders know exactly what I'm talking about. Some are really good at it, like John Meadows, but we talk about John Meadows the way we talk about John Meadows because it is so hard to be that good of a person through these preps and through these, you know, competitions. It's a rare thing. So I look up to people like him a lot. And you know, it's every year it's just a chance to improve, and you know, make sure you keep some focus on the other things in your life, and you don't let things around you fall apart.
Well said, man. I appreciate you being transparent and open with us,
Yeah.
Felix, because that's the stuff that really hits home and really helps out. So let's okay, man. Let's kind of get into the fun stuff here. North American. So prejudging was somebody else. I think maybe it was Cole. Told me that you guys got on stage maybe around 10 a.m. This past Thursday. Is that kind of sound right?
Oh God, I think it was much later than that for prejudging. I mean, it was, man, it was, prejudging was long. By the time we got out of there, it was a 5 hour prejudging, and it was only men's it was only men's bodybuilding.
Okay.
So there were a lot of us. But yeah, it was, man, it was a long time. It was a very much a hurry up and wait situation.
So why don't you talk about prejudging then? So first of all, when did you guys get into Pittsburgh? And then you know, talk about your carb up. What did that kind of look like? What did that kind of entail?
Yeah.
And then transition into stepping on stage for prejudging. Obviously, from the pictures I saw, you were in the middle the entire time.
Yep.
So just start from when you got into Pittsburgh and then unpack from there, please.
Sure. So the competition was Thursday. My wife and I got into Pittsburgh Sunday afternoon. We actually drove from Nashville. It's about an 8.5 hour drive. So, you know, I'd rather do that than deal with airports. So we got in Sunday afternoon, and because we wanted to get settled, make sure that, you know, if we had any fluid retention or inflammation from the travel, we could drop that off, and all of that. But also, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I worked with Kenny Wallach, the you know, the master posing coach. We worked together Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and ran through my posing, and he, man, that was one of the biggest game changers in this show versus USA's was Kenny. I mean, I will never do another show without Kenny again. He will be my posing coach for my entire pro career. He's the best at what he does, and he is also possibly the sweetest guy I've ever met on earth. He's just the best. So we got in early to make sure we had plenty of time to work with him. Austin came in Tuesday morning. So he was there for the 2.5 days leading up to the show and through the show, literally looking at me after almost every meal. I mean, certainly every several hours, he was looking at me. We were making adjustments by the meal. Um, him and Kenny were both backstage with me for prejudging and finals. So it was very much all hands on deck, no stone unturned. We did everything. So that was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Thursday morning was prejudging, and we woke up and, well, I should say at weigh-ins the night before, weighed in for the show at about 2:45. I probably stepped on stage about 2:44, 2:45, which was 7 or 8 pounds heavier than last year. So we put on some good tissue. Filling out for the show was very basic. Austin is a big believer in doing the same thing that got you there, not throwing in any random variables. So we don't do like the burgers and fries and the, eating chips backstage to pump up. We don't do any of that. My carb load was, let me see, I think Tuesday we did 800 carbs, and Wednesday we did, I think, 420 carbs about. And those carbs came from rice cakes, and rice-based cereal. And then the fats came from almond butter. I mean, that's it. It's just the same stuff I've been doing this whole time, just more of it. So we kept it really, really simple. We didn't really pull any water. We slowed down water intake, we slowed down water intake Wednesday night a little bit, 12 hours out from prejudging. But even then, I was still sipping, 4 to 6 ounces of water per meal. Because, again, bodybuilders know if you're lean enough, if you're in condition, there's not really much water to pull. There's nowhere for it to hold on to. So we woke up Thursday morning. I was full. I was dry. We really peaked it perfectly this time. So that alone, when you wake up and you feel you can get a pump and you feel full and your stomach is flat, you feel dry, you get that boost of confidence. When you know you're hitting right, it gives you that boost of confidence. So I went into prejudging feeling really good, feeling like I was at 100%. Get backstage, and I look at guys like Cole Eastfold. I look at, because I'm thinking of the overall, I look at, guys like Dom Trevelin. I'm sorry if I'm butchering his name. Guys like Sam Cunato, the light heavyweight guy. I'm looking at all these guys backstage at prejudging, and I'm like, shit, they look good. Like, I feel like I'm not that conditioned. I feel like I'm not as big as these guys. Like, it just, you get in your own head, because that's, who we are as bodybuilders. So, I was confident, but also I knew, like, these guys brought it. Like, these guys really brought it. So, prejudging, we, hung out backstage for hours. It came time for us to line up. We go out there and do our individual 30 seconds, and we, get lined back up, and I'm in first call out. They immediately moved me right to the middle. There were actually 6 of us in the first call out. So Cole Eastfold and I split the middle. So it was him and I in the middle. They kept us both in the middle the whole time. Moved a couple guys around, threw a couple rounds of posing, and that was it. It happens real quick. 16 to 20 weeks is done in about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So walking away from prejudging, I knew, or I was relatively confident it was Cole and I battling it out. And I did not walk off stage going, oh, I got this. This is mine, because Cole looked really good.
Yeah.
Like, he's a legit competitor that's been knocking on this door for a couple years now. He just got third at USA's. So I knew it was between Cole and I knew it was going to be interesting because I thought him and I were pretty close.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, all right. So you had, I think, from what Cole told me, you guys had a pretty long period between prejudging then and before you went back on stage for the night show. Is that correct?
Oh yeah, I'd say we probably had a good 10 hours between. Yeah.
Isn't that just horrible, dude?
It is, but relatively speaking, it was so much better because at USA's last year, bodybuilders were first on for Friday morning prejudging, and we were last at Saturday night finals. So at USA's, it's a 36-hour time. So this was actually a relief for me.
Okay. Man, I see the organization that I compete in, for bodybuilding, like it's, dude, you go out there and it's all like, you're literally all done like within an hour, because I mean, the
Wow.
prejudging, your routine, they go through all of it. And it's amazing. So when I hear you guys like, oh yeah, we were sitting around between prejudging and finals for 8 hours, 10 hours, 24 hours, I'm like, dude, that's gotta suck. But whatever, it is what it is. So
Yeah.
did you just kind of go back to your motel room, kick up your feet, eat a little food? What did that 10-hour period look like? And then we'll get into final talk.
We just went back to the hotel. I had an amazing meal of 8 ounces of steak and one plain baked potato. So that was the most delicious thing I had eaten in weeks. So I was thankful for that. Got that in, took a nap for about, maybe an hour and a half. I got a nap because, man, that 5 minutes of posing under those lights, it drains you. And not to mention the emotional, the emotional drainage and everything. It's a lot. So slept like a baby between the shows. Woke up, got ready to go back. Austin took another look at me before we went back to the venue. And then from there, just had to get a new coat of tan and all that. And the tanning sponsor, Olympia Tan, best company I've ever had for spray tanning sponsors. They were fantastic. My color was dark, even, really good. So they were great. But yeah, finals started at 6, and I don't think we went on until probably 9.
Okay. Now, what did Austin have to say to you in terms of after prejudging? Did he have any words? What was kind of his input for you during that period?
Basically, just because we nailed it so well for prejudging, it was basically like here's what we need to do to make sure we just stay like this. Thankfully, we didn't have to figure out how to change anything really because we nailed it for prejudging. So it was just a matter of maintaining, which is always the easiest scenario usually. But Austin is like me. We don't count our chickens before they've hatched. I did not come off stage and, Austin did not say like, oh, you got this, hyping me up or nothing. It was like, okay, good. We split the middle. Here's what we need to do. Here's how we get ready for finals. It's all business until the job is done, which is exactly what I need.
Right. Did you jump on Instagram and check anything out in that time period, or were you completely shut off from social media?
No, I checked out Instagram. I looked at Bodybuilders Without Borders does a phenomenal job, and Sulio's does a phenomenal job at posting these shows and keeping everyone updated in almost real time. So I looked at it. I looked at the pictures. I looked at the comments, which I shouldn't have done. And after I looked at the comments and everyone said to basically give it to everyone else, I was like, okay, we're gonna shut this off for a while. Because it's no hard feelings. Cole is very, very well known. He's one of the most well-known amateurs. Brandon Barrow's one of the most well-known amateurs. You know, I'm not a big social media guy, so it's like I take no offense to it. People have their favorites, but as soon as I started seeing comments that you know got in my head a little bit, I shut it off, and that was it till the show was done.
Yeah. So I think
So,
that's a smart move. And I think, you know, obviously I really appreciate and love social media because the podcast wouldn't exist if it wasn't for
no,
Instagram. That's how I connect with you guys. But,
of
you
course.
know, there's certain times where you gotta set that stuff aside and just say, you know what, it's just not doing anything for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 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 exactly. And I mean, what was fun just to pass some time was to look at the other classes, the light heavies, the heavies, and just to be able to appreciate what they all looked like because I wasn't lining up with them. So it was cool to see those guys and see how good they looked. So yeah, I mean, you have to have the social media. You know, I mean, back in the day, no one knew how these shows turned out until the magazine came out 6 weeks later.
Yeah.
So no, you have to have that social media. But yeah, I looked at it for a little bit and then put it down. And you know, I know when it's time to I know when it's time to turn it off for a little bit.
That's good because some people don't. So,
Yeah. Oh yeah. No kidding.
all right. So, walk us through finals. You get back on stage around 9 o'clock. You said, um, you know, you guys do your posing routine then during the final
Yep.
competition.
Yep. Top five does their posing routine. So thankfully that was the first time I was told I was top five. Is I'll be able to do my posing routine. So that was good.
So just walk us through the rest of the night show when you found out that you won the super heavies, and then you said earlier that your mind kind of went right to the overall. Walk us through the overall. Talk to us about the feelings and the emotions that you kind of experienced once you knew you were the 2022 North American overall bodybuilding champion.
Yeah. So finals we went on. We did our individual posing routines. It was kind of cool because I was the last, I think. Yeah, I was the last one to do the posing routine. So you know, last posing routine of the last class of the finals. So it kind of closed out with me, and all that is just based on competitor number. But it was cool to be able to be in that spot. So I did that. We lined up right after my routine and they called, fifth through first. I know Brandon got fourth, Joey Quads got third, Cole, of course, got second. And man, oh my God, I will tell you, when it was Cole and they were announcing second place, I, I'm sure it's not the case, but I feel like I have never heard someone speak that slowly when they were announcing second place. I mean, it was just in my head, I was just like, because I was competitor 443 and he was competitor 440. So it was like, oh my God, just say 440, just please, like, hurry up. It felt like an eternity. But they called Cole for second place, and it it hit me that I won the super heavies. It didn't really hit me, like I said, that I won my pro card, because as soon as I won the super heavies, it was just, okay, now I'm in it for the overall. Now, we got to do this all over again. I had to, you can't let off the gas because you got a whole nother round or two of posing to go through at the very end of all of this. And it's for all the marbles. So you really got to stay on your game and make sure you don't relax at all. So I stayed on stage after I got first, and they brought the other guys out, lined us all up for the overall. Um, they immediately put me dead center, and we ran through only one full round of posing, and that was it. They didn't move anyone else around. That was it. And then we did our pose down for the audience. That's just for fun. And even though I was dead center for the overall, again, when they're calling out, because they call out top four, because top four in the overall get their pro card for North Americans. So they start with fourth place and go up to first. And man, I mean, going from fourth place to first, those call outs by the announcer again felt like another entire eternity. Uh, so um, so they, Dom got third place for the heavyweights. Sam Pinato got second place for the light heavyweights. And it was then when they called Sam for second place for light heavies, then it was like, okay, there's a pro card and the overall. It all kind of hit me at once. And it hits you, but it doesn't. I mean, it still hasn't sunk in yet. It still seems surreal. There's there's almost like an imposter syndrome that kicks in. I've called myself an IFBB pro a couple times in the last few days, saying that, telling, people ask how it went, like, good, I'm an IFBB professional bodybuilder now, and I have to double think, like, am I though? You have to, it just doesn't feel real, because I've been thinking, this has been a dream of mine since I was 18 years old. And it was not a straightforward path. It took a long time with a lot of detours and a lot of lost years. So, it was, it was a very surreal moment. I did understand what was happening, but it wasn't like it wasn't like an outpouring of emotion, or like a giant, punch to the face in terms of the gravity of it, because you just can't absorb it all in that moment. So I've been slowly soaking it in for days now.
And that's kind of Stuart Sutherland, who won the overall at the USA's back in July. When I brought him back on, he was kind of saying the same thing, even though he went on the next weekend and competed in I think the Tampa Pro. He kind of said the same thing after all that. He's like, man, it's been just kind of a whirlwind last couple of weeks. He's like, yeah, I know I'm an IFBB pro. I was just at the Tampa Pro, so all these guys that I've looked up to for years and seen them on social media. But he's like, it hasn't really sunk in, and it'll take time, because I think that's anything in life, right? I mean, even probably when you get married or when you have your first child, it's like, okay, I just went through this experience, but like, did this really happen? Like, you got to kind of pinch yourself, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, especially for someone like Stuart, I've talked to him a couple times briefly on social media. Great guy.
Oh yeah.
But for him to do the Tampa Pro the following week and I think he got 7th out of 14, a week after turning pro. I mean, that guy's got so much potential. He's just, and that's two things that I'm sure have to sink in over time for him, is winning the pro card and doing that well at your pro debut. It's like, man, he's probably still soaking it in right now. So yeah, he's great. He's got crazy potential, and I'll be in the same boat. It'll take me a few weeks to kind of get used to it. I'm sure next year the thought's going to pop in my head of purchasing my NPC card for the year and having to go, oh wait, no, I have to do an IFBB card now.
There we go. Probably going to be a higher price tag for that IFBB Pro card, right?
A little bit. I think it's a little higher, but man, it's worth every penny. I'll pay the price.
That's right, man. That's right. So I just saw, I don't know, I've been seeing different posts that you've been putting on the last day or two, but I think it was just, again, this morning or something like that. But you were just recently on RX Muscle. Talk about that. That's kind of a pretty cool opportunity to be interviewed by Dave Palumbo and that crew.
Yeah, we did the RX Muscle last night. Did a live stream. He brought me on with Chris Aceto and Lee Priest, which is so cool, because I've watched these guys do, podcasts and YouTube videos, and everyone knows these guys. They're all, some of the biggest names in the industry, and to be there just chatting with them, and really for the conversation to be kind of about me and about my accomplishment. It was, again, it's that imposter syndrome where it's like, are we really talking about this right now with these people? Like, it's so cool, and they were so nice, and And Dave reached out to me immediately after I won on Instagram, and just such a nice guy to give me that opportunity for that exposure on a platform like that. And it was a really good time. And when when Chris Aceto tells you that this is only you at 50%, and in a couple of years you're gonna, you got some real potential within the IFBB, to hear that from Chris Aceto is like, it's almost as unbelievable as the pro card itself. It's fantastic. So that was a great experience. And hopefully I'll be on more in the future, because it was really fun, a lot of fun.
Love it, man. Well deserved. Now, since we're kind of on that topic, this is when I get guys on after they get their pro cards, I kind of like to just ask some fun questions as a fan, right? So,
Yeah.
Who are some people that reached out to you? You just mentioned Dave reached out to obviously get you on his channel and stuff like that. But who are some other names that just kind of like when you saw them follow you on Instagram, or they sent you a DM or commented on maybe a photo or something? Who are some names that you're like, whoa, like I can't believe this guy like commented or sent me a DM? Like who are some of those names that really you had to take a second glance at?
Well, the one, and I've talked to him several times, and I actually hung out with him at the Arnold and everything. But one of the big ones is Jose Raymond. Him and I hung out at the Arnold when I was there with Mark Lobliner for Tiger Fitness and MTS. He was hanging out at the booth as well, and of course doing other stuff. But I got a chance to hang out with him for a little bit. He actually ran me through a round or two of posing, and kind of helped me with a couple tips on posing before the expo when we got into town. And so he reached out to me or commented on Instagram, or said, I'm sorry, he private messaged me on Instagram after I won, and he was like, man, I knew you could do this. I knew you have potential. And again, he's like you have the tools to be dangerous in the IFBB, kind of like Chris Aceto said. And it's like, man, to hear that from Jose Raymond is just like, it's crazy. Like it's wild. But he, I mean, really at the Arnold, he told me like, you've got potential. You're going to get your pro card. You're going to, you're going to go somewhere with this. And thankfully, at least for this step in the journey, I proved him right. And so that was really cool to hear from Jose Raymond. He's a super supportive guy, and just really nice guy. Other guys, who else? I think Ben Chow started following me from Bro Chat. And that's cool, because obviously I listened to that podcast like everyone else. And so that was really cool to see. Dusty Hanshaw, I think he started following me, and he's just a bodybuilder's bodybuilder. So stuff like that. I'll be chatting on Instagram Live later today with the Tennessee NPC chairman Alan Sizemore. He runs the state of Tennessee for the NPC. So that's really cool. I'm sure other people. I think Milo Sarchev commented on one of my posts or something, and just seeing names like that is just, it's wild. I'll never get used to it.
Yeah. And that's why, myself being a fan, it's always fun to hear, like how many followers did you guys gain? Who commented, who reached out? Cause it's like, we're, at the end of the day, I mean, there are some really arrogant people within bodybuilding, but most of the guys that I've had on the podcast, these recent IFBB pros like yourself, man, you guys are just humble, Stuart and Brandon Laird. I mean, just down to earth, young, humble guys. We're all fans, right? Whether you're an IFBB pro, top end PC athlete, or, a drug-free athlete like myself, it's like, dude, bodybuilding's bodybuilding. We're all fans, and it's just kind of cool to hear that stuff for myself, and I'm sure a lot of the listeners and viewers out there love love hearing that, because you guys are fans just like us, right?
Oh yeah, exactly. And I mean, even when I get ready for my pro debut, I'm gonna do my first pro show, and I will be backstage. Technically, these will be my peers now, but I'm gonna see guys backstage doing the same show as me, where it's like, I know I'm about to go against you. The goal is obviously to beat you, but man, I'm a huge fan of yours. So that I look forward to that moment, because I am just a fan of bodybuilding. Like I just love it. I love the competitors, the personalities, the different stories, the different physiques, and there is no reason to there's no reason why you can't look up to and respect and be a fan of your peers, um, even if you're competing in the same shows as them. I'll always just be a fan of bodybuilding.
Love it, man. That's why I appreciate all of you guys. You guys are just, again, a lot of these young up and comers, NPC, IFBB pros, man. You guys are great dudes. You're great people. You're humble. You're fun to chat with, and it kind of just, I don't know, it as a fan myself. It's just encouraging, man, because like you hear people. There's always gonna be negative people out there in social media world and stuff, but you hear people saying about the state of open men's bodybuilding, this and that, and is classic going to overtake that? You know what? That's never going to happen, because
Yeah.
open men's bodybuilding is well and good. It's in great hands. I think we are seeing a shift within
Yeah.
the IFBB of the old guard kind of slowly dying off, retiring, doing their next things, and we're seeing that young guard, the Nick Walkers, Hunter Labradas, Ian's, those guys, and you guys that are falling behind. You guys are up next, and you guys are slowly but surely going to climb, and we'll be talking about you guys for years to come, and that's exciting, because everybody wants to see a great open men's bodybuilder. Everybody's going to always pay to see the freaks, right?
Oh, exactly. That's why you hear all this controversy about certain pro shows that are taking out certain divisions. No one's taking open men's bodybuilding out of the Arnold.
Never.
No one's taking open men's bodybuilding out of the whatever, the New York Pro, the Chicago Pro. Like, it's just not happening, because open men's bodybuilding is the finale. It is the top of the food chain in terms of freakiness, and in terms of just that it's that thing you just don't see a lot. When you see a really good open men's bodybuilder, it's like you just don't see human beings like that a lot. There's almost like a circus show element to it, because it's so unusual, and people will always be drawn to stuff like that. And I'll say, being at this show, watching USA's, look at nationals at the end of last year, open men's bodybuilding is alive and well. If it went through a lull for a little bit, that lull is over. I mean, look at Stuart Sutherland, look at Carlos Thomas, who won nationals, look at Justin Shire, I mean, man, these guys are freaks. They're amazing bodybuilders. So anyone who says open men's bodybuilding is dead, they're not paying enough attention to who's coming.
I think they're listening to a little bit too much of Nick's Strength and Power, if they got that.
Maybe.
And I you know what? I watch a lot of Nick's Strength and Power, and I actually respect him, and I appreciate what he does.
Yeah.
I just think sometimes his perspectives are just maybe a tad bit off. I'll just leave it at that, right? So
Yeah, sure.
but much respect to Nick, because he's done a great thing, and he exposes a lot of people that maybe are new to bodybuilding or have never really been, don't really know bodybuilding. Like, he's kind of on the front lines of like, hey, here is what bodybuilding is.
Right.
Maybe he has some different perspectives that are maybe a little off, and he's never competed in the NPC, or he's on IFBB Pro or whatever, but he does do a great job of exposing kind of people on the beginnings of bodybuilding, and I have great respect for that. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
But okay, so a couple more things here, Felix, and then we'll kind of start wrapping up. Before we kind of finish with a few more fun questions and then talk about your future, I want to kind of put a cap and a wrap up on North American. So I know it's still, I mean, it's less than a week, man, and there'll be some more processing, I'm sure, and thinking that you've got to do about it. But up to this point, just looking back, what's your takeaway from North Americans for yourself, for Austin, for the entire experience? What would you say as just a cap for North Americans? What's that takeaway?
So the takeaway is for me is that I would not be doing this interview as the overall winner had it not been for the people I surrounded myself with. The best thing I did over the last 1 to 2 years was surround myself with the right people, whether that's my training partners, my wife. Well, we've been married for almost 7 years, so surrounding myself with her as my support system, Austin Stout, Kenny Wallach, it's you need a team to do this. You need not just a team, you need people who you mesh well with. So like Austin and I have very we have very similar personalities in the sense that we're pretty chill people. We're not overly energetic, or we don't hype things up. We're very kind of reserved and level-headed and calm and collected. So we work really well together. Kenny is just Kenny is just the best at what he does, and he was able to tweak and alter my posing for my own physique, that in a way that he would do completely different for any other physique. So that's my takeaway is seeing my family and Austin and Kenny and my wife and all these people in the audience for me. My big takeaway is I accomplished this because of them. It would not have been doable without them. And it just it just reminded me of that, because when I was at the finals and I'm doing the overall, and we're doing comparisons, I can literally see in the fourth row in the audience my Austin yelling at me to sit on my glutes in the side chest or whatever, and just seeing my being able to hear my wife in the audience yelling and cheering, and my parents and all that. It's you realize like my losses are their losses, my victories are their victories. So I just I came away from it really feeling like I had a very solid circle of people that I've built, that I will be moving forward with into the IFBB. So it was to have everyone there, because my wife was not able to be at USA's last year. She was traveling for work. So to have everyone there when I won it was a really perfect way to kind of close that chapter of as an amateur and open that door as a pro. I had all my most important people present for that transition moment in my life. So I will be so grateful for that always.
Beautiful, man. That's cool. I love that, man. That's that's something that a lot of people say bodybuilding is an individual sport. It is on a level, but it really isn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's only an individual sport on stage. The other 99.99% of the time, it is not an individual sport. No one can do this alone.
Well said. All right.
And you wouldn't want to. You wouldn't want to do it alone. I mean, how boring and unfulfilling would that be? You don't want to do it alone. You want to. This would have been so anticlimactic if I had been there by myself with no one in the audience and won and just celebrated by myself in the hotel room. No, it means so much because you have a whole team of people that did this with you. That's part of what makes it. That's part of what makes it so fulfilling. So you don't want to do it alone, and you can't.
Perfect, man. Okay. A fun question here.
Yeah.
What did you have to eat off meal plan kind of like right away, and how have you kind of managed that or not managed that since you stepped off stage?
Yeah, not managed is probably a little better. My ritual is the same. After every show, I get several pizzas from a local pizza place and just dig in. Usually I go with a white sauce pizza, a deluxe pizza, and a Hawaiian pizza. I don't care what anyone says. Pineapple belongs on pizza. End of story.
It's
So
good. Yeah.
and yeah, man, I love it. So pizza is always my go-to right after a show. I'm not that, I'm not the kind of person where like I have a whole bag full of candy and treats and goodies to like stuff in my face when I walk off stage. I mean, it was like 2 hours before I ate anything after the show. So it's not like that. But yeah, pizza with everyone, with Austin and his wife, Jerica, and my wife and my family. Like we had, a little pizza party at the hotel. That was cool. The following day, when we drove home, I just spent the whole drive home, making various pit stops, everything from Cinnabon to Chick-fil-A breakfast to Raising Cane's chicken fingers, cheesecake and stuff like that. So yeah, man, I hit everything on my list, and I have been the last few days. We're up now, what is it, 3, 4 days post show, and we're up about 12, 13 pounds. So nothing crazy. But I'm already, I went back to the gym yesterday. I'm going to the gym after this, and I'll probably be back on a pretty consistent, bodybuilding plan tomorrow. I've gotten it all out of my system. It's all been fantastic, but with how the show turned out, I am more motivated than I've ever been. So I'm pretty much good. I've had my good food, and I'm ready to hit the ground running tomorrow.
Perfect, man. I saw Dom post something probably yesterday on his Instagram story saying something about he had a couple of days of just eating off plan, eating whatever he wanted, and he's like, it feels so good to be back on plan. He's like, it's where you guys belong, right? Like
Yep.
it's a part of who you are. It's a part of your life, and it's like, yeah, it's fun every once in a while to cheat or go off plan, however you want to word all that stuff. But at the end of the day, I think what really makes you guys who you are is you can stick to the plan. You know how
Yeah.
to move forward and progress and
Yeah.
just kind of block all that nonsense out, right?
Yeah, the way I look at it is it's Stockholm syndrome. I want to go back to my captors. I want to go back to the chicken and the rice and the training and the protein shakes, and I want to go back to that discipline. I don't feel comfortable for very long just blowing in the wind. Like my wife and I went to Trader Joe's the other day just to get some groceries, and I wasn't back on plan yet. I'd still just kind of eating whatever, enjoying myself, and I'm walking through the grocery store like, I don't know how to shop right now. Like, what am I supposed to do? Usually I grab my 6 foods and I'm out. So it's like I'm uncomfortable with it. So I'm ready to, just like Dom, I'm ready to just get back into it. It's go time now.
Cool, man. So speaking of go time, these will be kind of the last 2 topics we touch on, and then I'll let you go. We've already been going for about an hour, which time flies when you're talking life and bodybuilding. But
Oh yeah.
so first of all, improvements. I know on our podcast yesterday with Cole, he was very complimentary of you and said you and Austin brought it in. You were tight. You were chiseled. So whenever you have a peer like that, or somebody that you compete against, like Cole, say that, like that's kind of like along with Jose and Chris, like that's some high praise. But
Yeah.
we know that you are like all the new IFBB pros within the last year or two, you're at the bottom now, right? And you got to climb back up to the top.
Yep. I'm the
So
worst of the best.
right,
Yep.
right. So what are some improvements? I know overall size is going to be one, but
Yep.
specifically, what are some improvements that you and Austin, once you kind of get back on plan, get into deep into off season, what are you guys really going to focus on and push before you step on an IFBB pro stage?
Yeah. So, by the way, I'll say real quick. Cole and I started competing within 1 year of each other. We are both from Minnesota, so I will say North American super heavyweights, Minnesota boys took first and second.
There we go.
So that was cool. So yeah, so I've known of Cole. We've ran in the same circles for 12 years. But anyway, going forward, one of the judges, I feel bad, I forgot his name, came to me backstage with critiques, which I greatly appreciate. And it was the same thing that Austin and I knew. We need more arms. We need more upper pec shelf, as everyone does. And we need, probably more than anything, more lats. We need to build a bigger back. We need a thicker back. My back shots are probably my weak links. Well, from the waist up, are certainly the weak links. So we will be focusing on that, putting size on the arms, the upper pecs, and the entire back, but especially the lats. But the judge did say that my lower body is ready for the pro stage, so that was a really nice compliment to hear. But yeah, those are what we need to focus on: arms, upper chest, and a lot of back.
Now, how tall are you again? Are you 6 foot, 6'1", Felix?
I'm 5'10".
Oh, 5'10". Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So that, I mean, within bodybuilding, that's fairly tall, but that's not crazy. I mean, I think Ronnie was 5'10", 5'11", wasn't he? Ronnie Coleman?
Yep. Right. Yeah. Ronnie Coleman was about 5'11". Dorian Yates 5'10". So yeah, it's doable. Once you hit that 6 foot mark, man, you're really battling uphill.
Yeah, for sure.
So
okay, so this is going to be kind of the final wrap up question here.
yep.
What are your guys' thoughts for the future in terms of the next time you feel like maybe you may be ready to step on the pro stage?
Yeah. So Austin and I talked about it immediately after the show, because that's how we are. It's like, cool, we got the IFBB pro card. Now what's next? There's not a lot of time to sit back and enjoy it. It's time to work. So we are going to take 2023 off because I prepped for 2020, had to pull out because of all the COVID nonsense. But I did a full prep for 2020, pulled out at 3 weeks out. We did 2 shows in 2021. I did North Americans this year. So I have not had more than a 8-month off season in the last 3 years. So we are going to take about 18 months to grow, to really put that tissue on the right places, prioritize the back, the arms, the upper chest. Take the time to do it the right way and make sure we don't blow out the midsection, and keep things relatively tight. And we're going to take a 1.5 years to do that, and we will be making my pro debut at some point in 2024, probably spring or summer of 2024. So we got a good almost 2 years.
Awesome, man.
Yeah.
I think we hit everything pretty thoroughly, don't you think, Felix, for kind of wrapping things up?
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's fun. It's fun to talk about it. The more I talk about it, the easier it is for it to sink in and to become a reality.
I guess this is maybe another just quick fun question. When you do get on the IFBB stage and start competing consistently, who are a couple of the open bodybuilders that you would love to step on the same stage with and just share that stage with them?
Let's see. As far as like the veterans, the big names, I would love to get on stage with like Nick Walker, Hunter Labrada, Ian Valier. I mean, I know those guys are mostly just doing Olympia and Arnold these days, so that might take a little while. But but other guys, Akeem Williams, he's just a freak of freaks. I love his physique. I'd love to be next to him and look like a child. And who else? I mean, Steve Kuklo. I'd like to go on stage with him because I live in Tennessee. He's a Texas guy, so nice, southern show would be cool. Maybe see him at Texas. Um, yeah, guys like that. I mean, obviously, I'm leaving tons of guys out. But as far as the new crop of guys, I want to get on stage with Stewart. I want to get on stage with Carlos Thomas. I want to get on stage with Justin Shire. Um,
Nate
all those
Spear.
guys.
How about Nate Spear?
Nate Spear, that was what that I was trying to think of the other guy from Nationals. Nate Spear. He's freaky physique. I'd love to get on stage with him. And I'm not sure if Dom will be 212 or not. I know he probably wasn't too far off from that weight. But if Dom decides to do the Open, I'd love to get back on stage with him. I think he's got crazy potential. So yeah, there's and Cole Eastwold, because he's gonna get that card. So I look forward to being back on stage with him at some point. So, but yeah, just to be in any pro lineup in 2024 is gonna be, again, it's gonna be so surreal. It's gonna feel like I'm backstage and I don't belong there.
Well, maybe after 18 months off, it'll really have sunk in by then, and then it'll maybe it won't be quite as surreal, right?
Hopefully, we can hope. Yeah.
Okay. Now I'm gonna leave you with this. This is something it just popped in my head. I'm kind of like, I love coming up with well, I call myself a wordy. I don't think that's even really like a real term, but
Yeah.
I love words. I love quotes. I love nicknames. I don't know. It's just something about words and all that stuff, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So this popped up in my head. I don't know if you have a nickname, if you want a nickname, but I am at least going to throw it out there because I think it's fitting. So this is what popped in my head, and this is what I'm gonna leave you with.
Yeah.
How about King Felix?
Oh, God. I
King
don't know.
Felix, huh?
I certainly don't have a nickname, but let's see what I can do to try to earn that name,
Okay, okay.
We'll see
Maybe
what
after your
happens.
first IFBB Pro win. How about that?
Yeah, there we go. Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. You gotta earn a nickname. You don't just get a nickname, you gotta
That's
earn
right.
one.
That's right. Well, at least it's not you coming up with a nickname. It's some podcast guy in Iowa throwing it out there, right?
Please, yes, and yeah, as long as it's not me, I'm good with anything.
Yeah.
Just yeah, that's rough when people come up with their own.
Well, welcome to the Instagram social media age we're living in, right, Felix?
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, I'm still getting used to it.
Yeah. So here's the deal, man. Before I do a quick outro per the usual, I want to give you obviously the opportunity to share any final thoughts, any final words, any final shout outs, any sponsors, anything that you want to leave us. Make sure you give us your Instagram. I'll do a
Yep.
quick outro and that'll be a wrap. Okay, Felix?
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, I've already talked about my whole team, but Kenny Wallach for posing. He's the best. He's the greatest guy. If you're not using him, you're not maximizing your chances for victory. Austin Stout, fantastic prep coach. We've been working together for almost 3 years. Yeah, 2.5 years. And in that time, we have completely transformed my physique while improving my health, blood work markers. So, I mean, just the best of all worlds. And he cares about his athletes. He cares about the health of his athletes. But he also knows when it's time to crank up the heat and push. So Austin Stout, I appreciate him and his wife, Jerica. She was at the show with us, running around, filming, taking videos, babysitting. I mean, just support system for my wife and my parents. So she's just the best. My wife CJ, she does everything for me. I would be completely lost without her. I barely know how to do laundry without her. She handles everything in my life, and she handled everything in Pittsburgh. She was the chauffeur. She was the grocery store runner. She was the just organizer, planner, hotel booker, everything. So um, she is most of the reason for all of this. So my gyms, Carbon Culture and Iron House Strength and Conditioning, the phenomenal gyms both in the Nashville area that have all the facilities and equipment I need and have been complete game changers since transitioning from corporate style gyms. So that's everyone. It's not a big circle, but it's the circle I need.
Yeah. And your Instagram, Felix, what's that?
Instagram is Felix Norman 5.
If somebody, maybe they listened to your last episode on the podcast, maybe they just listened to RX Muscle and now they're listening to this or watching. And if they just kind of want to connect with you, reach out to you, are you pretty open to people sending you DMs on Instagram and connecting that way?
Just shoot me a message on Instagram. It might take me a little bit right now because I'm still getting quite a few messages, which is it's weird to be in a position where I'm saying that, but yeah, man, anyone can reach out to me. I'm no different than I was as an NPC competitor. I've just got a pro card with a lot more to prove. So anyone can message me for whatever.
Cool. All right. Hey, Felix, once again, man, I just want to say thanks for coming on for round 2. At some point, I'll get you back on the podcast and just maybe talk about the off season, because that's all obviously just as important, if not more important than preps and progress within bodybuilding. So
Yep.
Thank you so much, man. We'll get you back on, and I really appreciate your time. Okay.
All right. Hey, I appreciate you for having me on. And again, thanks for what you do on this platform for us top amateurs, up and comers. It's a great platform. You fill a great space, and I really appreciate it. So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome, Felix. All of you who are tuning in to another episode of Behind the Muscle podcast, I just want to say thank you so much to you. I appreciate all of you. I value all of you. And it's just awesome to see the YouTube channel is growing, the Instagram is growing, and I just feel like we're getting just a great grassroots following of bodybuilding junkies, bodybuilding fans, bodybuilding enthusiasts. And it just encourages me to get more of these episodes out, produce more content, reach out to these coaches and athletes and bring them on. You heard what Felix said, just so complimentary, and the podcast seriously would not exist if it weren't for all of you. So I appreciate all of you. If you have not done so already, make sure you hit that subscribe button on YouTube. Also, please share this episode with Felix on your Instagram stories. Make sure you tag Felix. Make sure you tag Austin Stout. And really quickly, before we close out this podcast today, I do want to give a shout out to Austin Stout, which his Instagram I will put in the show notes of this episode. After having Felix on the podcast back in July, I actually reached out to Austin myself and had a consultation with him in terms of just some gut issues that I've had for a long time. I'm on one of his protocols right now. And if you go back and listen to Felix's first episode on Behind the Muscle podcast, we kind of get in depth of what Austin was able to do to help Felix correct some of his gut health issues to kind of help him get to where he was at in terms of winning the overall NPC North Americans this year. So I want to give a shout out to Austin. His Instagram will be in the show notes as well. Make sure you give him a follow. If you have any issues in terms of gut health, hormones, any spectrum of issues on that health spectrum, please reach out to Austin. He's very responsive. He's an awesome guy, as you heard Felix say, and I can actually say it myself now that I've had some interactions with him. He's helping me out, and I just want to say thank you to Austin. And please connect with him, follow him on Instagram, reach out to him if you're having gut issues, because he definitely knows what he's doing. He's an expert in the field. And then finally, I will leave you all with this. Remember, behind the muscle, there's always a story. We'll catch you guys later.